Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Party on Broad. Today, we are breaking down the Sixers draft class. What a NBA draft watch party it was on Wednesday night. The Sixers added some wings. They added some floor spacers. They added a big guy, and we're going to break it all down. I've got some highlight reels. We're going to be talking their strengths, their weaknesses, grades, the concerns, everything. We've got Little G in the house. What's going on? Thanks for joining. Guys, if you're watching us live, please be sure to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Comment with us. Let me know your thoughts on the Sixers draft class. Daniel, happy Friday, man. Thanks for joining. That being said, let's jump right into this thing. We're going to try and keep this short and sweet. To the shock of a lot of people, the Sixers did not trade the pick, and I'm happy for it. The Sixers need young blood on this freaking roster, and they shocked most Sixers fans by selecting Jared McCain, guard here out of Duke. I really like this selection. I gave it a B plus from the top. This guy is a floor spacer. He's an off-the-ball weapon. He came to Duke known for his shot making, and he straight up delivered, man, on that reputation. Per synergy, he ranked in the 86th percentile on jump shots, 82nd percentile shooting off the catch, and 74th on spot-up opportunities. He shot 42.1% on catch and shoot threes and looked really good in the pick and roll, which we're going to get into a little bit because that's where really the bulk of the McCain discussion is his playmaking going forward. But 85th percentile shooting off the dribble, 39.5% from three on pull-ups. Man, this guy quickly gets off the floor, consistently gets to his spots. He has really good strength to manipulate defenders when coming off screens. And I don't think this guy is just an off-ball shooter. I think he's a lethal one who should have no problem spacing the floor for Joel Embiid, for Tyrese Maxey. And, but let's talk about the meat and potatoes of the Jared McCain segment here. And that's with the ball in his hands. But actually, let's go to some video real quick of what to expect from Jared McCain on offense. Here's a little clip. Really what it comes down to is that comp with Seth Curry. I think he's going to be a really fun combo guard in light of Seth, where he can, in transition, pull up from three anywhere on the court. He's got really nice mechanics on the jumper. You look at Seth here with the little step back from three. That's what I'm expecting from the jump. When it comes to Jared McCain, I think he's going to be just an immediate off-ball weapon. Here's some comps. Remember these days with Seth Curry? Good times. More Seth Curry shooting over the screen. And here's Jared McCain, step back, pull up from three at the top of the key. So Jared McCain, that's going to be his bread and butter shooting. No doubt about it. But let's jump into some playmaking stuff. We already know McCain kind of established himself as an elite shooter, but one of the things I'm watching at 6'3", 197 pounds, him harness more of a guard, not necessarily a traditional point guard role, but a combo guard role in the NBA. Most notably because he's pretty efficient at the rim. His at the rim numbers are just, if not more impressive than some of the same batch of players that were at the top of the draft, like Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepherd. He generated 1.26 points per possession at the rim, nearly 63%. In comparison, Isaiah Collier, who was an excellent downhill scorer, was 1.26 points per possession, 63%. Reed Shepherd, who went in the top 10, 1.15 points per possession, 57.4%. And Reed Shepherd is an analytics darling, and McCain was better. Let's talk about Rob Dillingham, who was another electric scorer. He was 1.05 points per possession at the rim, 53% respectively. So, McCain is kind of consistently getting billed as just a shooter, but the numbers in the tape, I think, tell us a little bit of a different story here. You look at Jared McCain in the pick and roll. He ran 52 possessions for Duke last year. Not a big sample size, but when he did, 96th percentile, 1.15 points per possession. So if you go back to his high school days, he actually ran the pick and roll significantly more, way higher usage. During high school, he had averaged 4 assists per game. And when you get to passing, you look at the numbers, 1.9 assists. He had an assist rate of 11 and a 12.2 turnover percentage. Doesn't really scream like, here's your point guard, Tyrese Maxey, go play off ball. But again, I think this is where context matters, because when you play mostly off ball at Duke, which we saw, it's a little harder to pile up the assist numbers. And it's important to note that he was 4th among Duke starters in usage rate at 19.7%. I think with the ball in his hands, McCain shows really solid composure. He knows how to manipulate a defense subtly. And I'm really intrigued at his ability to read the weak side consistently. I think he shows really good instincts, knowing where his teammates are. He's accurate moving the rock. And in short, I just think he's consistently proven that he's adept at creating open looks for his teammates. To summarize, I think McCain is a lethal shooter, both on and off the ball, but he's also an effective driver. He's a crafty finisher. He's a creative playmaker and an accurate passer. Let's get some videos of Jared McCain kind of showcasing this playmaking. Here's him in the pick and roll with, I believe that's Filipowski. Nice little bounce pass, dump down there. Next up, we have Jared McCain coming off the screen, finds his man rolling to the basket. Love to see that. Jared McCain with the ball in his hands. Again, didn't do a lot at Duke, but when he did, it was nice. Nice little crafty pass down there, down low. So again, I'm not expecting him to be a point guard in the NBA whatsoever, but I think ultimately down the road, I do want to see what he looks like with the ball in his hands. And I'm very intrigued to see how he looks during the summer league. We'll see what happens there because, if you look at the other guys the Sixers brought in the draft during the last couple of days, they're not point guards either. So the ball should be in his hands between him and Turk. So during the summer league. So to summarize, the real question is McCain truly a point guard? No. He does have a little bit of the floor general gene. He does have a nose for his teammates. He has that selfless attitude, but I think he's going to be more of a connector and an off-ball spacer, especially from the jump. Overall, I'm intrigued. Defensively, that's where, let's talk about Jared McCain's defense. I think there's some question marks for sure. He's only 6'3", but the dude competes. His tape was better than I expected. Despite the fact that he's only 6'3", he does have really good strength. He does show really good technique. He knows how to read passing lanes. He's got nice fluidity. This is not an elite athlete by any means. He has active hands, 1.1 steals. He's got excellent instincts to, kind of be chaotic in those passing lanes. But for the most part, don't expect much from Jared McCain on defense. So to wrap it up, I give this pick a solid B+. It was a very good pick. At worst, I think he looks like that prototypical sixth man, which is absolutely what the Sixers need. At best, I think he's a starting level guard in the league. And from the jump, I think he's going to be the backup guard for the Sixers. I don't think he's a starter just yet. Maybe a swing starter if there's some injuries. But I think he immediately helps make life easier for any lineup that includes Joel Embiid. And I expect him to be a dynamic offensive weapon in the NBA if things break the right way. Let's be real. That really hasn't been the case for the Sixers the last 10 years. But I think he shoots well off movement and projects really nicely into Nick Nurse's offense. So overall, B+. Happy about that selection. Let's jump into our next one for this evening. And we're going to talk a little bit about Adem Bona, which was a little bit of a shocker, in my opinion. He's a little polarizing. I saw some people were kind of mocking him in the late first round. I saw some people not even have him be drafted. But Adem Bona is a power forward from UCLA, versatile big. The Sixers selected him with the 41st overall pick in the second round. He played 2 years at UCLA before declaring for the draft, set career highs last year across the board, 12.4 points per game, 5.9 rebounds per game, 1.2 assists per game, shot nearly 59% from the floor, also averaged 1.8 blocks and 1.1 steals per game. Let's get into, what Adem Bona is going to bring to the Philadelphia 76ers. First up, amazing physical tools. He measured in at 6'8" at the combine, but what he lacks when it comes to size, he makes up for it with excellent explosiveness and mobility. 243 pounds. This dude is built like a rock. He has no issues handling physicality against taller or stronger players. And, that verticality is a value riser in his profile. That allows him to make up a few inches, being a few inches short than the average college big. At the NBA draft combine, he posted a 40-inch vertical at 243 pounds, which is pretty remarkable. He did struggle with turnovers and fouls during the NBA draft combine scrimmages, but you could just see his ability to run the floor, finish above the rim, and compete on the glass. Here's some clips of Adem Bona just being a physical freak, man. There it is. It looks like Charles Barkley out there with the ball in his hands, dribbling full court, finishing. Here's a clip of Adem Bona and his perimeter defense, which we're going to touch on his defense very shortly, but able to keep his feet moving, stay straight up. Nice job there. And just from the perimeter here again, he's not a shooter, but he can blow by his man and finish at the rim. So Adem Bona, next up, I think he's a very strong post defender. Let's start with the good. He's a good shot blocker, capable rim protector. His 9.1 block percentage ranked 7th best among D1 centers last year. That mobility and quickness, I think, should serve him well as a solid pick and roll defender at the next level. You look at, the drop coverage heavy NBA game. I think this is what separates him from his peers, that versatility to dominate pick and roll coverages, which I have some clips on as well. He's shown a lot of comfortability to hedge or go over screens when he needs to. He's got plus strength, which allows him to pick up on-ball handlers on the perimeter and deny them access to the interior. You look at today's NBA, man, and you often see teams switch to lure the opposing big to the mid-range or perimeter to gain an advantage. I think in Adem Bona's case, that's an area where he also separates himself from others. He's got really good footwork, really quick feet, and a solid base, a solid anchor to kind of develop into a plus defender on the perimeter going forward. So this was a really fun watch. Let's look at some highlights of Adem Bona's defense, especially as a rim protector. This is just nasty. Here's another one in transition. Adem Bona just swallowing up guys at the rim. A little more weak side help there from Adem Bona, and then more perimeter defense, able to kind of catch up with his man and deny him at the rim. So that's what I'm really interested in, especially Summer League. He should thrive where it's a lot of just pace and space running up and down the court. I expect him to look really good there. I've got Tech in the house saying, I hope Bona works out. He looks like an absolute dog. I'm not going to lie. I was not high on this selection, and I'll get to why in just a little bit. But I see why they would go this route. Personally, I would have rather gone the, veteran minimum route in free agency to get a backup big for Joel Embiid. But Bona is definitely a pure athlete. So that's something. Offensively, Adem Bona is not a bucket getter. His tape is filled with a lot of ISO, a lot of dump downs, a lot of post ups with Adem Bona. And it was not pretty. It was very inconsistent. Matt chimes in, says he looks like Draymond 2.0. I see that too. I see that a little bit. maybe like a Daniel Gafford or something along those lines. But he scored, and this is not a scorer. I think it's important that he comes in and knows his role, which is to improve his rebounding, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but really just protect the rim and patrol the paint. This is a guy who only scored in double digits 8 times last year. Only once did he score in double digits during the final 13 games of last season. The UCLA Bruins were a hot mess last year, a very disappointing year. And this is not your typical modern big. He's mainly going to be gathering offense, rolling to the basket, or cleaning up misfires in the paint. At the rim last year, he shot 76%, where he showed, that quick feet around the basket and on the perimeter. And I think that's where we're going to see him thrive. Much of Bona's offensive game comes at the rim, and 51 of his 104 made field goals last year were dunks. So he's an excellent rim running lob threat that should work really well with Tyrese Maxey. And he did not attempt a 3 last year, but he was 7 of 25 on long twos. So do not expect this guy to put the ball up from the mid range. How does he fare when getting others involved? Not great. He averaged 1.2 assists to 2.5 turnovers per game. But it's important to note that when you watch the tape, like, he also doesn't shy away from making high risk passes. Is a guy that has shown the ability to make basic reads, which is a starting point for him to kind of not be a net negative offensively. Let's get some kind of quick highlights of Adem Bona in the pick and roll, which we're, for the most part, going to see. Here's him rolling to the basket. You can see his plus athleticism, above the rim finishing, more pick and roll. He can put the ball on the ground and really make up a lot of ground. Very good athlete, man. More rolling to the basket, finishing above the rim. Pretty decent, man. He's a lot better than I expected coming into this draft process. Nice little pump fake, gets to the rim, and finishes with the layup. And then we get to concerns, and there's a good amount of them. First up, I think Adem Bona is a foul machine. This is an area of risk in his profile. You look at the amount of personal fouls, 3.6 personal fouls in 26 minutes per game. This dude wasn't able to stay on the floor for long stretches. He fouled out in 9 of a total 33 games played last year, and had 4 or more fouls in 19 games. One of the reasons I think he struggles so much is that he is terrible at setting screens. He is typically caught with moving screens quite often. He's often seen moving too late on offense. Despite his quick feet, he does have slower hips. He struggles to identify ball handlers, and that's going to get him in trouble at the NBA level. So there's that. And then lack of rebounding, man. This is a guy who recorded over 10 rebounds just 3 times in 2024. He averaged just 5.9 boards per game, and the numbers do not support Bona's activity on the glass. He's solid at positioning, and it seems like he has good feel, but the numbers are just not as good as his athletic profile or what you would expect from that athletic profile. It is important to note that UCLA took very few three-pointers, so the opportunity to get a lot of those, chase downs, those offensive boards was pretty limited last year, which might have led to those low rebounding numbers. But I think Bona, is often seen getting out finessed inside the paint. So while the upside is there due to that athletic profile, dude, this guy requires a ton of coaching in this area, and rebounding was a huge issue for the Sixers. So that has me very concerned. Young Giannis and DeAndre Jordan. Again, the athleticism is there, but can he develop more polish? That is the key question I have when it comes to Adem Bona. Let's wrap it up on Bona. I think he's an NBA-ready defender. I think he can play as a pick-and-roll defender. I think he can be a roaming, multi-positional defender inside the arc. I gave this pick like a C+. The value dropper of this guy's profile is that lack of offensive versatility. I think he's going to get the majority of his production as a play finisher or on the offensive glass. I think this is just a very raw prospect. He didn't start playing organized basketball until late, and he does have room for growth. You love his motor without a doubt, but I didn't like the selection when you had better wings on the board, like a Harrison Ingram or a Melvin Ajinka or a Kevin McCullough or a Cam Spencer. That's the direction I would have gone in this area, which is such a need for the Sixers when you look at other teams like the Knicks and the Celtics, who just seemingly pump out wing after wing after wing. Backup big is a need for the Sixers, but personally, I would have gone the wing route and looked at a big in the free agency market. So that's my little take on Adem Bona. Let's roll on to our next undrafted free agent. We're talking Justin Edwards here, man. Justin Edwards had a pretty underwhelming season for the Wildcats last year that truly tanked his draft stock. This guy was the third best recruit in the 2023 class, but he finished averaging just 8.6 points, which was sixth most on the team. So the hype of this guy was through the roof. He tested the waters a little bit, maybe going to the G League instead of Kentucky. But his freshman season, straight up riddled with inconsistent play that showed way more negatives than positives. From late December through January, he went 9 straight games without posting double-digit points. He ended that skid with 17 points in a win against Vanderbilt. But, that definitely got him going to finish the season strong offensively. But, he did score 10-plus points 6 times in Kentucky's final 10 games. But, yeah, it's really all about that upside. This guy is more theoretical than he is a real deal NBA like win now piece for the Sixers at this point. Let's get into strengths. For me, I think he's a potential floor spacer. Let's start there. The main sell for Justin Edwards is that he is a floor spacer, albeit it is a very small sample size. You look at the positional size, he is 6'8". He has shown the ability to knock down 3-pointers off the dribble, as well as pull up from mid-range. The mechanics of his jump shot are pretty solid, but I personally would have loved to see a little more effort and a little more volume in Edwards' shot diet. He shot 36.5% on 85 three-point attempts last year, and also showed a comfort level thriving off the catch. He also shot nearly 39% on NBA range threes. He's got a quick, high-arcing release that we're going to see soon, and he shot 45% from the mid-range. All these are very small sample size, so that's an important note. And he made only 32.3% of his catch-and-shoot jumpers as a high school senior. And he shot 77.6% from the free throw line at Kentucky on 49 total attempts. So it's a hard sell when you have there's solid nut percentages, but I need to see more volume, truthfully, before I really believe in this guy. Let's watch some quick clips of Justin Edwards and really the offense to expect during the Sixers Summer League. This is what it is, catch and shoot. This is what I expect him to do. He did not look good with the ball in his hands. We're going to talk about some concerns with Justin Edwards. But his primary role during the Summer League and the Sixers moving forward should be straight catch and shoot jumpers and spacing the floor. Because everything else is truly a work in progress. The form looks good. Doesn't have a lot of range on it, but there it is. Let's roll into some concerns. For me, lack of playmaking and shot creation. One of the red flags that was really evident last year at Kentucky was his lack of ability to create shots for himself or his teammates. He averaged just 0.9 assists per game, and you could see it. Like Kentucky never utilized this guy to create for others. What did stand out though with Edwards is when it comes to playmaking for others was in the open court when in transition. He's not an elite athlete by any means, but he does look more comfortable there. However, in a half court set, that's where he's clearly a role player at this point. He's very reliant on easy catch and shoot looks, and he's a very straight line driver with the ball in his hands. He pretty much always goes left given the opportunity, and he just requires a ton of polish in this area. I do like his upside scoring off the ball. However, I think Edwards is an active and smart cutter. And I think there's always a need for those guys when it comes to having Nick Nurse work Joel Embiid on the elbow there, just like we saw that Kelly Oubre role last year. But yeah, that is a major concern. And then the other one is that limited athleticism and defensive upside. This is a guy who rarely finishes above the rim. He has that lack of athleticism is super evident when you look at his on-ball defense and ability to navigate screens. This is not a point of attack defender by any means, and that lack of polish often led him to staying away from foul trouble. He had 5 fouls per 100 possessions last year. I think he has solid footwork on the defensive end, but his defense at Kentucky was mostly built on being more physical than his opponent rather than foot speed. And I don't expect this to translate to the NBA against better athletes. I think Edwards looks passive at times. I think he's very vulnerable to getting blown by his opponent. And a big reason for that is he doesn't have fluid hips. He doesn't have good burst to counter drives. So those are my 2 biggest concerns with Justin Edwards. And to wrap it up, I give this pick, even with the concerns, it's an undrafted free agent. So I am totally okay with going with the home run swing here. His greatest asset is that ranking, as I mentioned, based on that potential of how good he can be, based on how good he is right now. I think most of his skill set is an unknown and way more theoretical at this point in time. I expect Edwards probably will spend the majority of his first year at least developing with the Delaware Bluecoats, where he can kind of hopefully polish his skills more and get a chance to kind of redeem himself after a very uneventful college career at Kentucky. But as an undrafted pickup, I give it a solid B+. I like the home run swing here. It didn't cost you any draft capital. I'm good. So to wrap it up, B+ for McCain. I gave a C+ to Adem Bona, and let's say a B+ for Justin Edwards. I think he's going to be a very fun watch. Let's roll on to our last prospect for today, and that is David Jones out of Memphis, a native of the Dominican Republic. He moved to the U.S. to attend high school in West Virginia and play basketball. He spent parts of the last 2 seasons at DePaul before transferring to St. John's. But his final season, he played for the Memphis Tigers and saved the best for last. In 2024, averaged nearly 22 points a game, nearly 8 boards per game, and nearly 2 assists per game. He also averaged over 2 steals per game, and he didn't really shoot the ball well at the start of his college career, but last year was by far his best. 38% on over 6 attempts per game from 3 last year, and his free throw percentage went up every single year, which you really like to see. And David Jones joins the Sixers on a 2-way deal announced just a couple of days ago. Let's get to strengths of David Jones. We have a comment here. Bona leaves me Giannis and Bam. I like the Bam vibes. I think that would be excellent for Adem Bona to watch the tape of Bam. With his athleticism and ability to finish above the rim. That makes a lot of sense. Great comment there. But back to David Jones. First up, I think he's an improving floor spacer. You look at Justin Edwards' play, which was filled with inconsistency. I think David Jones is the exact opposite of that. I think what makes this guy so intriguing last year was that consistency in which he generated buckets. Jones scored in double figures in all 32 games last year. He can create for himself. He does have some upside there. He does have the ability to score from many different spots. He was one of the top college scorers in the country last year. You saw that much improved free throw and 3-point percentages, and I really like it. So do you buy the 3-point shot? Do you buy the shooting is the main question mark when it comes to David Jones. This guy never reached 30%, the 30% threshold from deep prior to last year. But yeah, he did shoot that 38% from 3. And you like the way he was able to get to the free throw line 6.8 times per game as well as 80%. So this guy clearly has an NBA-ready body and the ability to finish at the rim. Let's get some couple clips of David Jones kind of as a floor spacer, which obviously is his main sell here as a prospect. Yeah, this guy was a bucket getter for this is not, there's David Jones. My bad, guys. Here's David Jones. Spacing the floor in the catch and shoot. That's what we're going to be watching a lot of here with the Sixers Summer League roster. Yeah, he's definitely got a nice stroke. You look at David Jones, his rate of spot up possessions improved dramatically in 2024. Shooting numbers wise last year, 9 made 3-pointers deeper than 25 last season. He averaged 1.17 points per possession on spot ups, 86th percentile. He had an effective field goal percentage of 60% in the catch and shoot, 87th percentile. So there's a lot to like there as a floor spacer when it comes to David Jones. So let's roll on to more strengths. I think he's got some defensive upside and really nice foot speed. Defensively, he has elite quickness and very good instincts to jump passing lanes. He had a steal rate of 3.8%. So he's got that ability to create deflections. And, he's a bit of a gambler, but I'm good, especially as a two-way guy. I'm going to give this pick a solid A-. I really like this pickup for the Philadelphia 76ers. There are some concerns. He was one of the if you want to call it, losers of the NBA draft combine, mostly because of his height. He came in, listed as 6'6" and only measured in at 6'3", which is huge. That's a huge difference. Some comments real quick. B+ draft. I'm getting there, Quinn. I'm getting there, man. So there are some concerns, but overall, I'm very happy with the pickup of David Jones. So I give that solid A-. So overall, you had Jared McCain, excellent pick. Fell right into Daryl Morey's lap. I am not the biggest Adem Bona fan, but I'm willing to see how it plays out here during the Sixers Summer League and moving forward. I would have gone a different route, Kevin McCullough or something along those lines, and just continue to add young wings to this roster. But the wings they did pick up definitely have upside. Justin Edwards, David Jones. I like it. So, Quentin, let's do like a B+. I think that's pretty fair. You see a lot of teams in the NBA getting taller and faster on the wing. That necessarily didn't happen for the Sixers. So that's the one negative, if I had to say. But overall, I think McCain absolutely has potential to step on the court from day one and be a legit floor spacer, a Seth Curry light from his rookie season. So that wraps it up, guys. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll be back, Party on Broad, Monday nights at 9 o'clock. As always, you can follow me on X at Mr. Crockpot. Quentin, so now we just need Connect to not become a superstar. I think they're both going to be roughly role players. It just depends what you want. Did you want a combo guard, or did you want a wing off the bench? I think both probably. If I had to call it right now, we're probably not going to be starters anytime soon in the NBA. But I think they're going to be both excellent role players. Those were my top two guys, the Connect versus McCain. And we're going to be comparing the two for the next several years. That's what we do here. But anyway, guys, thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll be live tonight for the NHL draft. One last time, I'm Dobbs, Mr. Crockpot. Stay awesome, everyone.